most important possible thing that you can be doing in motorsport. I mean, there's a difference between inherent risk and unnecessary risk. It's something that Tony Johns, who I know has been a motorsport professional for much longer than I, has written about a few times. And, you know, Tony is somebody who's worked in NASCAR, and, you know, when he kind of explained the differences between those, to me, that was the moment that everything kind of clicked. Those were the words that really have put it into place for me. There's inherent risk in motorsport, and there's unnecessary risk in motorsport. And you have to accept the first, but not only do you not have to accept the second, you know, our priority needs to be to minimize the second at all times. We don't need unnecessary risk. You know, we don't need to make motorsport more dangerous than it already is. We don't need to play that up for attention or excitement or anything. The race, if it's a good enough race, then it doesn't need all of that. So, you know, hopefully everything that we've seen, you know, coming out of Daytona, hopefully everybody's going to be able to take a look at what we've seen, learn from it, and, you know, just build safer race cars. And, you know, as for the 40 drivers who are on track, hopefully they're going to, you know, be a little more guarded in some of the moves that they make, and, you know, having safer race cars, ideally, if there is an accident, because, you know, race drivers are human like the rest of us. Hopefully those accidents will end with more and more drivers walking away immediately.
Well, I completely agree, Chris, with all your thoughts there. I know we are going to take a short commercial break, and we will get into power rankings when we return here to the General Tire Down and Dirty Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today.
You're listening to the Down and Dirty Radio Show, powered by Polaris RZR. All killer and no filler.
Welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Jim Beaver along with my media director, Chris Leone here, and we're getting ready to jump into power rankings. We've been talking a little bit about Daytona and, you know, the Ryan Newman situation there. I think both of us and actually the entire motorsports community thankful Ryan Newman walked away. Well, I can't say walked away, but he walked out of the hospital this week, and I think with his family, and that is definitely a good thing. I know before we switch gears, there was a meme I shared. You know, everybody's shown the picture of Ryan Newman with his two kids walking out of the hospital, and there was a meme, and I had to share it. It was that picture, but it said, you know, there's all the memes that go around the internet, Chris, with Chuck Norris, you know, and he's a badass, right? You know, and it said, you know, when Chuck Norris goes to bed, he checks under his bed for Ryan Newman. And I think that pretty much sums it up. Like, Ryan Newman, if there was ever any doubt that dude is just a tough SOB, like, it's squashed. Like, that guy, as far as I'm concerned, yeah, if I get cornered in a dark alley, I want Ryan Newman having my back. He is one tough dude, man. But we need to switch gears here and get to power rankings, Chris. We got looks like we got about 11 minutes to get our top 5 power rankings in. So those of you serious listeners haven't heard what our power rankings are. We take the top 5 performances of the week. It's a 7-day window. Sometimes we get a little liberal with our usage of that 7-day window and extend it out just a hair. But basically, it's a 7-day snapshot of the world of motorsports and the top 5 performances Chris and I think happened in that week. Sometimes ours are close. Sometimes we have 2 completely different top 5s. But that being said, Chris, let's roll into it. Who do you have at number 5 on your list in power rankings for this week?
Well, Jim, number 5, we are going to start in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium for Monster Energy Supercross and the first 250 East weekend of the year. We've been watching 250 West throughout the year. You know, they've put on a great show, and, Yamaha kind of the dominant brand over there with Dylan Ferrandis and Justin Cooper, and it looks like there is going to be a lot more blue on the podium based on what we saw in Tampa from Shane McElrath. And a big change for him. He used to be a KTM rider throughout basically his 250 career, but made the move over to Yamaha for the East Class this year, and managed to hold off Chase Sexton, who was the champion of that class last year, managed to beat Jeremy Martin, who we know is healthy and hungry, managed to beat a number of other riders that are either looking for a fresh start in 250 this season or just really geared up to try and make their move up to the 450 sooner or later. So Shane McElrath starting off the season the right way with a victory. So I have got him at number 5 on my list.
Well, I will definitely get to Sugar Shane McElrath at some point. He's a good friend of the Down and Dirty Show. He's been on the show, I would say, 4 or 5 times at this point. Always a big fan of Shane's. And he's one of those guys, at some point he's going to make the move up there to 450s. He's just been that damn good on a 250. But I will get to him in a minute. But at number 5 on my list, and as you know, Chris, sometimes I just don't judge performances. I throw news stories into my lists, and that's kind of my thing. And I think this has been one of the big headlines of this past week, and I've got to have it on my list. I think it warrants a number 5 because he is literally one of the faces of IndyCar, and he was going to be out of a ride this year. But I got to go to the mayor of Hinchcliffe, who secured a ride with Andretti Autosport, one of the premier teams, for the two races at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the 500 and the GP, as well as the Indy 600 in Texas, with an asterisk that Michael Andretti put out there saying we could run him at even more events in 2020. So, this is a guy that literally is the most, I guess he's been voted like fan favorite driver. I don't know how many years. He's just a personality. He's a good friend of the show. We've had him on countless times. I think the IndyCar world was nervous what would happen with Hinch not being in IndyCar this year. And I am thankful that Genesis and Michael Andretti were able to put something together. And we're going to say Hinch, even though it's an abbreviated schedule in IndyCar, to me, that's big news.
Yeah, awesome news to see that Hinch is on the grid for even a limited schedule, and I don't doubt that he will be back full-time in 2021. Like you said, he's certainly a friend of the show. Andretti Autosport has always been very good to us on the show, so, going to be cool. I am sure that we're going to hear from James on the show sooner than later. For my number 4, though, I am actually heading over to Sweden, and probably one of the most difficult WRC events of the year. Not because of the inherent challenges of the snow for Rally Sweden, but because of the fact that this year's route was just changed and shortened dramatically. I don't think anybody really knew what they were coming into, but, rallies like those can be great equalizers, and sometimes you can get surprise winners, and that is exactly what we got with Elfyn Evans and Toyota. Just his second WRC victory, his first since joining Toyota. He had been in the M Sport family for quite a while. Had some difficult, disappointing performances over there, did take his first victory with that team, but, there were definitely some question marks about Elfyn Evans' career over the past couple of years and how long he was going to stay in the top class of WRC. But the good news for him, takes a victory with Toyota. It was a great performance for Toyota with first, third, and fourth overall, but, for Evans, big weekend, statement victory for him, I would say, and certainly proof that he has what it takes to hang tough at the top level of international rallying. So I have got him at number 4.
Yeah, Sweden, that was an interesting one. Everybody wonders, what happens if you run a snow rally on gravel? Well, we found out at Sweden a lot of things happen. But moving to number 4 on my list, I'm going to try and speed things up here a bit. But I'm going to go with who you had at number 5, Shane McElrath. He's on my list at number 4. All the reasons you said, Chris. Obviously, he's always a front runner in the 250s. It just doesn't even matter the season. You always know Shane's going to be right there fighting for a podium. Starting out the year swinging on the East Coast with the victory. Got to go with Sugar Shane at number 4 on the list.
No doubt, Jim. And for my number 3, see, what's interesting is I feel like I have a read on the rest of our list. And this does not always happen, but I think we're going to be really similar in our top 3 because I am staying in Supercross for my number 3. I'm moving up to the 450 class. I'm going to Eli Tomac. For the serious listeners, I feel like I have been, over the past couple of years, just ruthlessly hard on Eli Tomac for winning all of the outdoor titles but never having the championship in Supercross. But he seems pretty determined to right that wrong this year. I believe it was his 3rd victory of the year in Tampa. He has taken the points lead away from Ken Roczen, who has held it for most of the year. You know, this really has the makings of a magical year, I think, for Eli Tomac. And, you know, admittedly, Cooper Webb has started to, you know, inject himself into that championship discussion, have the win in San Diego, has been racking up the podiums. But Tomac seems just super, super determined to finally get that Supercross championship monkey off his back in the 450 class. And with that victory in Tampa, you know, it'll be interesting to see if this weekend in Dallas and, you know, over the next couple of weeks, if he's able to actually start pulling away from Ken Roczen in that points battle. So I've got Eli Tomac at number 3.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm kind of speechless here because now I'm seeing the way things lay out, and there's no possible human way we have a same top 3. But I got Tomac at number 3 on my list, Chris. You gave the most solid intro you possibly can. I've become a Tomac fan the past couple of years. He's obviously one of the most dominant guys the past few years. He's in that title conversation. You know, there's a pretty tight race right now with him and Roczen. There's a few others that can sneak in there as well. But Tomac, big victory for him. I think he's taken 2 out of the last 3. In Supercross, or 2 out of the last 4, I can't remember. But Tomac, definitely a solid number 3 on my list, which makes me a little bit nervous about this number 2. Are the stars going to align, Chris? Are we going to have the same top 2?
I kind of think we are, Jim. And for number 2, we are heading down to Daytona, and it's really tough to put Denny Hamlin as my number 2, but obviously I think we know why I'm going to have to do that. I mean, let's be real. Winning 3 of the last 5 Daytona 500s, winning 2 in a row, becoming just the 4th driver in history to do that. I mean, I remember I had I think it was a diecast set as a kid where I think it was Richard Petty, it was Cale Yarborough, it was Sterling Marlin, all won back-to-back Daytona 500s. And when I was a little kid, they did a commemorative diecast set of those 3 cars. Well, I'm thinking that Lionel might need to break out the molds on that one and add a 4th for Denny Hamlin, because that is a set that I would love to have, you know, on my desk in the office. Because God, what an impressive performance Denny Hamlin had just throughout the day. You knew he was going to be there at the very end, and you know the way that things kind of bent in his favor when he got passed in the backstretch by Ryan Newman and Ryan Blaney doing the tandem drafting. He didn't panic. He just kept running his race. He let it develop the way that it needed to, and he took it at the line in the photo finish. So, you know, at this point, Denny Hamlin is basically the plate racer, the same way that Marcus Ambrose and A.J. Allmendinger used to be the road course racers in NASCAR. Denny is your guy if you want to win on a restrictor plate track.
I agree with you, Chris. Hamlin is definitely my number 2 for all those reasons, which means I think both of us have Mr. Ryan Newman at number 1.
Real world superhero. That's all you can say after seeing him walk out of the hospital on Wednesday night.
Well, I think the best way to sum this up is, what you just said, real world superhero. And with that, we're going to take a short commercial break here on the General Tire Down and Dirty Show, powered by Polaris RZR. Back after this. I'm Polaris rider Jim Beaver. I race trophy trucks professionally, host a Down and Dirty radio show, and also travel the country announcing motorsports events. I've seen it all, and trust me, I've done most of it. So when it comes time to relax on the weekend, nothing is better than taking time with my family in our RZR vehicles. They've got the reliability I need to just pick up and go explore the desert, dunes, or trail, and have the capability to attack even the harshest terrain. If you're looking for some of the most reliable and safest, and hands down most capable off-road machines in the world, look no no further than Polaris and their award-winning lineup of RZR vehicles. Whether you want your daughter to experience off-road driving for the first time in a RZR 170 like me, take the entire family out in a RZR XP4 1000 on the weekend, or shred the desert and dunes in the all-new RZR XP 1000 Fox Edition, Polaris has you handled. Take my advice and join me and some of the best drivers in the world by driving a Polaris RZR. Check out the full Polaris RZR lineup at Polaris.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter